Implementing a SQL data warehouse. You have data. You have data by the truckload. You have data that comes from all sorts of different sources and it's stored in all sorts of different places, right? And you're here because you heard about business intelligence. You know that it's some hot topic that's floating around in all of the blog spheres these days. But what exactly is business intelligence? Ultimately, what business intelligence is our ability to dive into our business's data, analyze it, and figure out what's really going on with our business. The data will tell us all of this information: who's buying, where are they buying, what are they buying, when are they buying. And once we have that information, we can make intelligent decisions about how to steer the business. Maybe that's how we develop a marketing campaign, or maybe that's how we fund special projects. You see, business intelligence isn't just something that we do, it's an entire culture change in an organization. It's using data to really figure out how we should be operating our business intelligently. So, looking at the diagram here on the screen, you may have heard about business intelligence when it comes to this sphere right here. This is talking about drawing visualizations with the data so that we can look at it at a very high level. Reporting, analytics, data mining, these are all of the ways that we can interact with the data to get those analyses. That's not what this course covers. This course is all about this section right here, where we're talking about combining all of our data in all of these different sources, transforming it to be one common set of data, and then storing it in one gigantic data warehouse so that our BI developers who are working over here in this sphere can connect to that common data warehouse and generate their reports and analyses. If you're interested more in the analytics and reporting, we've still got you covered here at CBT Nuggets. You can watch our courses on Tableau or Power BI right here, and that's a great starting point to get into business intelligence. But if you've got those areas covered, and now you actually want to talk about how to build a great way to analyze and store our data, that's what this course is all about. This course is about using these processes to generate and store a data warehouse. So let's talk about this a little bit more. We have data by the truckload. We have so much data that's coming in from all of these different sources. Maybe, like you saw in the last diagram, it was from a CRM where we're storing all of the data about our customers. Maybe it's HR data. Maybe it's finance and accounting data. Maybe it's raw sales data. Maybe it's economic data. Maybe it's data on our help desk. Do you get the idea here? We have data from all of these different places and it's spread out all over the place. And what is something that's going to happen when we try and report on these things? What are the BI developers going to do? Well, first of all, we would have to provision accounts and permissions in each of these data sources just so that they can connect and run their queries. The second thing is they may handle data differently across all of these data sources. For instance, I would imagine that HR and the help desk would have some common data points in mind. For instance, our help desk technicians will exist in help desk. They'll also exist in HR. And what's the problem with that? If they're two different databases, they're identified in two different ways. So cleaning that data up and polishing it, making it common, is going to be very difficult for a BI developer. And further, what if we're collecting biographical data? For instance, maybe our CRM, we're trying to figure out what the gender is. Maybe this will store our male and female as a 1 or a 0. Maybe HR will store it as an M or an F. Maybe economic data might store it as written out male or female. Do you see how there's this huge inconsistency in the data across all of our data sets, which also makes reporting on it just a total nightmare? So we're the BI engineer in this case. We need to help our developers and our dashboard authors. We need to help them out. We need to give them one common place where they can connect to the data, where everything is already pre-formatted for them so that they can get to the analyses as quickly as possible. This course is centered on three pillars of the 70-767 certification exam. The first is how to even design the layout of this data warehouse. That's not just talking about drawing things on a whiteboard. What we're talking about is the table layout, the file layout, the partition layout, the index layout. And if any of these topics seem just a little over your head, it definitely does expect you to know some of the basics of SQL already. So if you need a refresher, you can always check out the 70-761 certification prep course here at CVT Nuggets for querying SQL Server, or the 70-764 certification exam for administering SQL Server. Now, the next pillar is the majority of the course, and that is on the SSIS, or SQL Server Integration Services tool. This is what performs ETL. The E stands for extract. We're going to be pulling data out of a source. The T stands for transform. We're going to have to reshape it, transform it, polish the data. And then the L stands for loading it. We're going to be loading it into our data warehouse. Again, this is the bulk of the certification exam, so we're going to spend a lot of time working with SSIS, specifically in Visual Studio. And last is how to implement a data quality service. And what this does, this just regularly checks on our data and makes sure we're not creating fuzzy data or unclean data, duplicated data, etc., things like that. There's a lot of ground to cover in this course, so stick around because we're going to have a lot of fun as we learn the concepts and then dive into the virtual lab. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.